like to thank all of you who are here today. We're going to go ahead and start with our Monument and Wayfinding Committee. Vision. Oh, general government? Okay. It is a general government meeting, but technically we are talking about a greater vision for Canyon City, ultimately.
I should have
And
known.
I'm going to talk to you about that right now.
Sorry.
Several people in our audience up here have been members of our Monument and Wayfinding Committee. There was about 11 people who participated on this. And we do have letters to recognize them. And would like to encourage all of them to also chime in and give their advice and recommendations. And feel free to please come to the mic and speak to us as we discuss the monument and wayfinding signs. Up here at the table, we have Dina and Christy Gotham and Lisa Himes. And I am particularly grateful for the expertise that we are able to have on this committee and in staff as well. Oftentimes when we do projects like this, we hire it out to an outside firm, and this time we have been able to have that quality of expertise right here in-house. Having Christy as our graphic designer has been amazingly helpful, not only as our PIO for doing our Facebook and social media and press releases, but also on this project in particularly because as we were talking about signs and designs, she could tweak right then and there absolutely everything that we needed so we could see it instantaneously, and was always able to change things as we needed. And it was very incredibly useful. I'm sure saved the city quite a bit of money as well. And of course, Dina's background as well. We were so happy to have them there. And Lisa was our committee chair, who graced us with her enthusiasm for our community, and also your visual taste in class, I think was really important for this. We have other people in the audience, Rex Brady, Mike, and Adam, who participated as well with their tourism and outdoor recreation backgrounds. We also had marketing represented and other adventurers. And with that, I think we go ahead and like to first, with that introduction, invite everyone to come up to the very front. We have letters signed by the City Council and Mayor for each of you. And we'll get the rest out to everyone else. And we'd like to take a picture with you, and then we'll go ahead with the presentation.
Can I suggest that we might do the presentation and maybe do the picture after? We do have several people that said they might be able to show up, but they might be a little late.
Sure, yeah, that sounds like a
And then
great
that
idea.
would allow them to be in the picture as well.
Lisa, are you ready to go ahead and take the helm?
I guess I am. Hello, and thank you all for being here today to listen to what we've done. We really did try and put together a great group of knowledgeable people, bringing in Smitty, as everyone knows, who was kind of our sign expert. And Dina was a great addition with her experience in signs and sizes and CDOT as well as CDOT was in on it. So we really did have a great group of knowledgeable people, as well as bringing in several people from the community. I was hoping that Ashley and Kristen and Smitty would show up before we were done. So basically, the Monument and Wayfinding Committee, we had process and recommendation. Our first meeting was March 29th. It started when I approached Tony about possible signs that the chamber would be putting up and how we could work with the city, and the committee was started within a week, and we went to work on it. And of course, we're happy to be presenting this to you today. You have all the different people that are involved. What our purpose was to identify a preferred conceptual design for gateway and wayfinding signage for Canyon City. We wanted to, obviously, and I forgot to bring the map with me again. I was going to pick up that map and bring it. The wayfinding map that Rex gave us that had all of the different points that we want to make sure that we bring recognition to with our wayfinding signs.
Those are, that's
Later
in
in
our
the
packet.
presentation.
Oh, it's already, it's on this, so. So we want to support the ease of use for visitors and provide identity and branding for the community. And it will support the following items as identified in the 2017 and 2020 strategic plan. ED2, continue the physical revitalization of the city to promote a strong first impression and community attractiveness to business and visitors. PS14, encourage implementation of environmental design standards to enhance public safety. I know that's a lot where Dina comes in for us. And ABE3, to create a strong first impression by creating attractive and timeless welcome monument gateway to the city with a timeless and unifying theme. And I really think that timeless is one of the things that we're all looking for, something that we aren't going to have to replace pretty regularly or have people say, well, that's been there for a while. ABE4 is to implement aesthetic wayfinding landscape and signage improvements on US 50 while also reducing visual clutter in this key corridor. CIO 6, develop comprehensive and attractive wayfinding signage to direct the public and visitors to key cultural, recreational, and historical assets. The three alternatives that were considered were number one, concept design is presented in the US 50 corridor plan. That was done in 2015. A design from committee and city public information officer that integrated the city's logo, curvature of the mountainscape into the sign design, and that was created by Christie during this whole process. And then the design from the Colorado State University students' work via a DOLA grant, and that was prior to 2015. So those are the three monument signs that you're going to be seeing. And what we did was Christie, in her very creative ability, placed the signs in various locations. These are the different alternatives. Alternative 1, as you can see, we recommended that the sign be placed just east of, or really, if you will, in between the top of the hill as you come into Canyon City and 4 Mile, right in Evans, right in there. So as you're coming in, and the other side would be on the west side of Soda Point. So right before they come around that corner. Yes, sir.
Can we do that? Can we put that sign in that location with DOT approval?
We did have the Department DOT there, and he said, yes, we do have to follow their guidelines, and there are specifications. The one that we have on the east side of town, we're talking about putting on the north side of the fence. So that would not be on DOT property. Now, obviously, that is just these are just our recommendations. The city will be deciding. But the other one, yes, that would be on DOT property. There. And so this is the third design. This is the one that was created pre-2015. This one is the one that Christie created, the middle one, and that has the curvature, if we could go back just one, that has the curvature of our logo on the top of the sign. And then the number, the 3 is the one that was created in 2015 that it really is pretty spectacular and timeless. So it's made of concrete, but made to look like it's a stone. The other thing is the wayfinding sign. We've maintained the theme of the monument signs at the top of our wayfinding sign. There's several different ways we can do the wayfinding signs. This is one example here. The other example is in the next slide. Back one, I think. There we go. You can see the two different styles of wayfinding signs. Depending on location, the width of the sign will be important. Obviously, we want the size of the font to be easily readable as people are driving. but we don't want the sign to be so wide that it causes a public hazard, either if it's on the sidewalk or something. So the location of the sign will determine which sign would be used in various locations. And so that's the one we were at. Okay, the preferred design includes a mountainscape scallop layer, sculptured. As you can see, we have the tan, we have the blue mountain layer behind, and possibly a third layer of mountainscape. The original design was just 2 layers. Christie added that third layer, and it just gave it such great dimension, you know, 3-dimensional design. And then the other thing we had talked about on the front panel, we would have a blue horizontal band to represent the Arkansas River. And the blue portions of the sign may include embedded iridescent. Okay, I'm missing the R. Oh, there it is. It looked like an N. Elements. The lettering of Canyon City is envisioned to be raised, 3-dimensional metal letters, away from the background material. Now, the letters can either be backlit from behind, or they can be lit from the ground shooting up at the letters. I guess we would have to kind of see a mock-up of which one, but a lot of us liked the lights behind and making them glow that way. The final materials, detailed design envisioned to be a combination of colored, textured concrete or stone and metal panel. Glass components may be incorporated to provide the iridescent look. The basic sign or logo panel per se would be utilized to create a family of signs for Canyon City, which we would have in the wayfinding.
So just to point out the family of signs, that means not only the monument signs, they would match the wayfinding signs. They could also match, since we're making improvements at Centennial Park and Mountain View Park, that their signs would also probably keep that same image for the branding. And so all those types of signs would all have a matching theme.
Well,
so we have
we
consistency.
thought that the very rural signs, like up at the bridge, would probably remain in the same design that they are now, which is more a rough timber.
Right, so we have the more rural trail signs that would
Right.
remain and keep that theme as well.
And this would
Yeah.
be
This would
more
be
within
in
the
town.
community.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, note that the primary sign type, this was originally designed for our gateway monument signs. There are several design types that might be accommodated within the city. Pardon me? Sure.
So just want to make sure that everybody's clear. So there are different sign types, and the arrows that you see on the slide are focusing on the work of this committee, really focused on the gateway monument signs, which are called political boundary signs from CDOT's perspective. And then number 4 on that list, which is the downtown or river-focused directional wayfinding sign. But these could also be applied in the future in terms of downtown monument signs, so sort of the gateway to downtown. That's potentially a future project. And then secondarily, having directional wayfinding signs along the greater highway corridor or other parts of the city. But just to be clear to everybody, the effort, this first effort and the budget is primarily for numbers 1 and 4.
Can I ask one question? On the left side of this, why can't the Royal Gorge Bridge be across? If you back up a couple of things. See that? On the left where the real deep V is,
On the left,
on the left side,
Yes.
where the real deep V is,
that is,
Royal Gorge Bridge, across it.
and I think that was mentioned as something, as a possibility.
I mean, it just brings it,
Right,
brings it up
and,
front.
and that was considered as a possibility. I know that one of the things that we obviously need to consider in all of that is that where do we determine what's important enough to have on the sign and what's not?
Right, and to spend the money on and stuff, because I'm sure everything you add is an ad. Yeah.
And of course, obviously the bridge is I would say unquestionably our most noted attraction to the area, but also the train brings great value. The river itself with the rafting brings great value. So there's many things.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. A key component of any comprehensive signage program is the location plan. We really went around and looked at all the different locations of where we might be able to put this. We talked about also having just a sign welcoming people versus also having that sign double as a thank you for visiting. On the west side, do we cover that further on?
They're the location plans, or
Right.
the political boundary or community gateway locations.
Right.
So realizing this text is hard to read, but basically, this is the west end of town. So where US 50 curves and comes into town, the proposed location of the political boundary sign or gateway sign is where the green, actually it'd be up here a little bit more, generally in this area. The only existing sign we have now on the west side of town is basically within Veterans Park. So this would be a larger sign greeting folks coming in from the west side and generally in this location. And then conversely, on the east side, coming in on US 50, the current sign is basically at the crest of the hill, and the proposed location is basically just in front of that, just slightly.
Well, that was a sign that was actually added after our original monument sign, which was at 16th Street, just west of Papa's Murphy's Pizza. So, and of course, we all know that the metal sign that's on the top of the hill will be coming down and going into the wayfinding pull-off that's going to be just east of McKinsey. So this is the location plan of all the different areas that we want to have wayfinding signs. This is a start. I'm sure that as time goes on, more will be created. But in general, these are the different locations that we've identified or that the city has identified about bringing greater awareness to on our wayfinding signs.
So just to clarify, so this is the information, the content or destinations that would be identified, but not necessarily the location
Right.
of the signs themselves.
Right.
So, but we wanted to put this in as a reference of these are the destinations that the committee would like to have on the signs. If we move forward, we can go through and talk about the proposed locations, and noticing it's a little tough to see the locations here, so I'll try to point them out. But again, basically the existing signs here are on blue dots. So what we've done is we've started by undertaking an inventory of where current signage is, and this is primarily within downtown, so from 1st until 15th. So we have an inventory of where the existing signs are, and they're all different types of signs. And we can pull up some images to show you examples of that in terms of the variety of signs that exist. And then what we did is went through and identified some key locations of where we might want the future or new signs to be. And those are indicated in the green here. And then also we have a layer that indicates signs to be removed. So we can get a sense of just, in the idea of reducing visual clutter, how many of these additional sign poles might be reduced, and hopefully through the new sign plan, we have a more consolidated effort in terms of where the signage is.
And also, if you look at this is just from 9th to 15th, and then the next slide's going to show 1st to 9th. And if you notice, we have a way more signage from 1st to 9th than we do from 9th to 15th. So we don't, there's a lack of signage there.
Okay.
And also on the slide here, there's not as much blue. That's because there are more red points trying to mark up and consolidate some of the areas where there just seem to be sign over sign over sign. That way we don't have like 4 signs in one spot anymore, and it's the one sign that we're looking at.
So the budget we have thus far that is $200,000 budgeted for US 50 gateway signage. That is for 2 monument city entry signs, referred to as the political boundary signs by CDOT. and then 200,000 budgeted for wayfinding signage. Design costs will come out of the above. So the next step, we're pretty excited about getting this done. So completed detailed design of the sign families to have a design book for immediate and long-term use by the city. Implement in 2017 an east and west community gateway monument sign. A combination of downtown wayfinding directional signs and highway wayfinding directional signs. And then timeline moving forward would be to solicit and procure a complete design, identify a fabricator, complete construction drawings, coordinate with CDOT given the regulations for signs in their right-of-way, obtain necessary permits, construct signs, and install signs. That's it.
Do you think number 3 ought to be higher up than number 1 and 2? What if you can't get the permits from CDOT, even though they said so?
Yeah, we'll definitely be coordinating with CDOT through the design process. I actually spoke this afternoon with both the contact from CDOT in terms of the design process, as well as the a separate individual in terms of the permitting process. So there would be 2 separate individuals to reach out to and work with through CDOT throughout this. So we're not going to wait until the very end to reach out and meet with CDOT in terms of detailed design.
Did they give you a feel for the length of time to get the permits?
So from a design standpoint, that individual thought it would be about a month. And in terms of the actual permitting, that individual thought it could be as quickly as 1 week. Although she is going to be following up with me because she alluded to the fact that we might need to apply for individual permits for every single sign. But she's going to try to see if we could do it in a group.
A week, huh? Was this the Colorado CDOT you talked to? I just,
Actually, it was Cayman Islands.
Kansas is quicker, so. Oh.
James, when he was in our meeting with us, Adam, of course, invited him and got him in, and he was very helpful, and he was very agreeable and really positive about working with us on this. And he really gave us a very positive feeling about it.
So Adam knows a guy, huh?
Don't tell him that.
It's good. This is exciting. I think, yeah, this is beautiful. What we need. Yeah.
We all were very passionate about the third design. And I mean, obviously, any of the designs can be implemented more like if we wanted to take the aspects of the second design and make it like the first design as far as in the ground instead of the base. They're all different ideas. But really the one that jumps at you and the one that pops, in our opinion, was the third with the blue and the river. And
Yeah.
And I think one of the benefits of that is that we were looking for something that accented one of our best features, and that's our natural beauty. And number 2, that is also would be completely timeless and hopefully always be something that would be beautiful and not date itself.
What's the council's feedback relative to Mark's suggestion? Because I thought it was really outstanding. The bridge is the most iconic image in this region.
Yes.
Therefore, it's on our
On our
logo.
I think
Why
Christie
couldn't
could,
we incorporate that in that V area he made reference to?
I'm pretty sure Christy could draw on a bridge for us and give you
Yeah.
copies of it to take a look and see
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
think.
and she could use the same graphic that you have in the
Yeah,
logo
yeah,
to put
Yeah, yeah.
on that.
And we could probably work out a sponsorship deal with the bridge for putting it there.
Go figure.
But we can come back to you with that little addition, but I think it's iconic, and I think it'd be a fabulous addition.
Just seems to me like the bridge conflicts with the concept of that particular sign.
That's what, to get it too crowded, it's so pretty and simplistic right now. I don't
And
know
that's
if
why
it
we'd
would
have to
make it
visualize it.
crowded.
Show it to
Yeah.
you.
Do it,
And-
Christie.
Do we have a picture of the back side of the sign? Did we put that on the slide?
Yeah, the one that says, visit.
There it
thank you
is,
for
yeah, the
visiting.
thank you for visiting. Now, when we get down to the west side of town, that would need to be
PowerPoint.
an angled sign like this because of its location. We probably wouldn't have to do that on the east one. Again, it would depend on exactly where we placed it on the hill, whether we'd need to do it as a V or whether we could put on the backside.
There's
And-
also other things to consider, like Adam brought up, like in that V that comes down, we have to make sure that it's angled in such a way that it doesn't become like a pigeon roosting spot. And so, and that would be something else to consider if that bridge, if that could potentially have conflicts with nature using it and.
Well, the whole
creating-
sign could be a pigeon roosting
Yeah.
spot.
So that's
Are
part of
the-
the design is making it so that it's not
Are
going to be
the,
interfering.
the three plates going to be compressed together, or would they be like separate, so there would be shadows when the sun shines?
Electrified.
They'll
We,
be all
we
together,
envision
or-
them, obviously, the person who designed it would create it to the best and most durable.
Oh.
We envision it as three separate ones that are put together.
That's what I thought, too.
Right.
Yes.
And that's why she showed the concept in one of the earlier signs. There was actually three slabs.
Okay.
That would
Well, I
then be-
didn't know if they would be set together or if they would have air between them.
Yeah, they create greater strength altogether.
And just to remind everybody that all of this has to go through CDOT in terms of the final design, and specifically in terms of the backside or the V sign on the west side. That's something that's not very typical to CDOT, so we will have to work with them on that as well.
On the other hand, given what they've already approved, I don't think we're having a problem. You want us to at least bring you back a rendition of Mark's concept? So you can see what it would look like? It's not gonna delay anything.
It never hurts to look at,
Yeah,
we can
yeah, we can get,
communicate
you
through
know,
Tony.
Chris, you can work on something, we can share it with the council individually, and if you think you'd want to adopt it, we can bring it back on June the 19th.
Was that discussed at the committee,
What was that?
putting the bridge in there?
It was brought up, what if we could?
And what were the
We
objections?
didn't, we didn't have objections. We wanted to, obviously, anything that, we knew that anything that we did, the city would be making a final choice on. We just liked the real clean lines. I mean, it's real clean on that. And we didn't put that bridge design, but certainly, like, Christy can put one up and we can all look at it and see if it does clutter it too much or.
Kind of the raw natural beauty of Canyon City.
Right, I think we were kind of just looking at the area, and I mean, that's why the gorge is in there, because we have that, but not pinpointing a specific place or a specific business. We're just looking at it as, you know, here's our mountains and the river and the gorge, and not the other part.
Would the bridge go over in the V where the mountains are, or would it go down where where the river is?
The bridge would probably go across almost near the top of the mountain. Yeah, she's got the red
Okay.
dot. And,
V is.
yeah, right in
Okay.
there.
I guess with the cleanness and the lines, from my simplistic viewpoint, is if you could have the bridge concept maybe subliminally placed in that whole thing versus an actual bridge. It just seems like an actual bridge really distracts from that design that's there.
That was kind of our thought, which we were going to leave that up to you guys.
But I guess we need to look at it.
Yeah, I'll draw one out with the bridge and then another one with the simplified bridge, and take a look at those two.
One thing I
Yeah.
also wanted to mention about the wayfinding signs that I failed to is that, you know, on the bottom of each one, it can be specific as to district, whether it's the historic district or where it might be. As you notice at the top of the wayfinding, there's an area there to be able to be specific for location.
We have a historic district or downtown. I think our districts are pretty limited, but it can
To me,
distinguish
the river
different sections of
district, it
town.
can, yeah.
And also, if you notice in your packet, the signs as far as, 10-minute walk versus 5-minute drive and mileage, how far you can get to places was considered as well in our design.
Yeah, we had talked about whether to put a quarter of a mile or a block, or whether to put 5-minute walk or what it would be. But, we want to do it putting as little as possible so that there isn't too much to see as someone's going by.
Is that proportionate? Is that almost proportionally correct compared the sign to that car?
It
How big is
depends
the
on what
sign?
CDOT allows.
Okay.
That does seem a little bit big for that spot.
Well, I want it big.
You want it big?
Yeah, go big or go home.
You
There are a
want
lot of Texans coming up here. and I-
Exactly. We got
No, I
how
just
big
wanted
that-
to, I want to be, it's beautiful. I don't
We
want,
are the land of dinosaurs here.
Yeah,
Yes, we
careful.
are.
the land of giants,
I know where this is going.
land of giants.
Okay, I just don't, I didn't know if that was proportional or
We
not.
can
It's
provide you
pretty
different
big.
scales.
And it will be sturdy enough, so if you get a 300-pound female half plowed out of her mind on Colorado marijuana, she could climb up and have her picture taken sitting on it.
I would think that it would be well sturdy enough to
Because
handle
my
that.
sister comes here about 6 times a
People
year.
will, they will take their picture.
Put a ladder up the back.
Okay. So are we agreed on
red
at
one.
least alternative number 3?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to see a drop of a bridge?
I kind of like it is. I'm more of a simplistic.
I want to
keep it
see the
simple.
drawing, thank you.
We'll let Mark see the drawing, and I guess we'll decide from there.
Okay.
Are we ready to move on from this? Are there any
Yes.
other questions? Okay, thank you so very
Good
much.
work.
We
job.
appreciate
Thank
having
you
guys
so
here
much.
and
This
your
this
help.
was really fun. It was difficult to jiggle all the schedules when you get a lot of important people involved. It's difficult to find a time when everyone can be there, but it was really great to
Everyone
be a part
had
of
something to offer, and that's for sure. Can we
Yes.
invite all of you up to come up for a picture with City Council, please?
You guys have come up with a beautiful, beautiful little gift
Adam,
here.
you're included. You attended meetings as well.
You did what?
We're not going to do that, are we? Oh, guys.
Right. Right, no, it's pretty. Better than what I've seen. So we're doing what now? I reckon.
You had him tend to wear his cowboy
I
hat.
want to see the picture, Meissner.
Okay.
Don't mess with me, bro.
Okay, oh, Central Reservation System?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
Okay,
10,000
look-
a year, and it really looks pretty good. But
Okay.
he decided he was going to hold it to see what.
You guys need it. You're too sprawled out.
Yeah, you guys need to get some people in the front. This is like elementary school. Yeah.
Off at the waist, Carrie.
There.
Yeah.
He's an engineer. Yeah.
Like 3 of us to clap. It's like,
You're joking.
is that your knee?
That's for not supporting the bridge.
I think Mark did it on purpose.
Payback is out.
Oh.
Tape measure out, make sure everything's just the right height.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next item of business, development of exactions with Adam and Dina.
Do you want me to lead off on this?
Smile at him, third time's a charm.
He's smiling on the inside, I can tell.
Totally
Well,
great.
you know, Adam does deserve an extra thanks because he came on the radio this morning on KRLN Morning News and talked quite a bit
Where was
about
the
our
mayor?
streets.
What happened to the mayor?
I was double booked.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
Who's
I
making a
call,
living?
I call, yeah, no. I called up there and I said, you can have them. They said, well, Lobo's here. I don't know. I said, look, I got another meeting I can go to then. They said, why don't you go to that other meeting? So I did.
And then they canceled.
They,
And we had, they didn't, we weren't important enough.
what? You were there?
They said,
I know.
even though we were there, like, yeah, the mayor's not here. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah,
But
well, the
really-
mayor's not here. We're not sure we want to bother.
But Adam did a great job talking about the streets today. We're really happy about that. All right, let's go ahead.
All right. We included some things in your packet, including a memo from myself, following up on where we left off with development regulations. Basically, you may recall a number of months ago, we started out discussing exactions and what those what level of applications, development applications, those exactions should be applied to. And we established with you at that time that they would only apply to major subdivisions and standard site plans. And one of the recommendations that came at the time was also to go back to streamlining the standard site plan process. Some time ago, after we had created the site plan process, we felt we had captured too many applications in that standard site plan. So we created a minor and a waiver process within that. However, what we believe as staff, what was intended didn't happen because a lot of the conditions and standards that were in the standard site plan application were still being applied to the minor and waiver. Namely, one of them was exactions. Something else in our development regulations that hasn't yet formulated, but now that we have Dina, we're going to move forward on, hopefully, are development standards or design standards. And so there was a lot of reference to design standards in our regulations, but we don't have any. So with the absence of design standards and the absence of requiring exactions for those smaller projects, there's really no need to bring those smaller projects forward for that level of scrutiny. They'll still go through building permit process for review for things that are important there. They'll still go through planning and zoning for setbacks and parking and those types of issues that are covered by that regulation. But we don't really see without those two elements, there's not any reason for us to really review those smaller applications. Okay? So that's why we proposed eliminating the minor and waiver and going back just to a standard site plan. So then there was the question of what types of projects did standard site plan apply to currently, and what would it look like in the future? And so there was a discussion around what should be considered for a standard site plan in the first place. So the three things that I included in your packet, the very last page is a spreadsheet. And what you can see there is since we started doing site plan review, we went back and did some research and we found that we had 49 different applications. 28 of those fit under the standard site plan. So that would have been the most rigorous review, most requirements, all the exactions if they applied to that particular site. Numbers 19 through 28, however, those were reviewed as standard site plans prior to us having a minor site plan and waiver. So those likely would have fell under the minor category. So essentially 18 out of the 49 would be captured under the current proposed language for standard site plan. The rest of those we would only look at and review under the building permit process and the planning and zoning review. So we've listed what the name of the project was, the address, and basically give a short description of what happened there. One of the main things you'll notice out of the numbers 1 through 18 were those were essentially vacant sites that then had brand new construction. Another thing to note was number 29, Jimmy John's, was reviewed and approved as a minor site plan. They had initially, when they came to us, were only going to do a remodel of the old Pizza Hut building. in the process of construction, they ended up tearing down the old building and completely rebuilding. So they would have been considered a standard site plan because it was complete new reconstruction. Any questions on that? Any discussion on that before we move on?
I just got some questions on this spreadsheet.
Uh-huh.
For example, McDonald's, number 11, you show it as a vacant site to a fast food restaurant?
Right. So what we consider a vacant site is if it's a tear down, if it's a full demo and a rebuild, that's a vacant site. That's what we consider to be a vacant site. So let's say, and the reasons for that, some of the reasons for that, Dina might be able to give some more insight to that. But, you know, again, we're talking about mitigation, concerns about what issues there may be or may not be with the project. So if it's an existing restaurant, it may have not to be facetious, but it might have a drive-through that was built for Model T Fords, and there's a new drive-through standard. So when they tear down or rebuild, that's time to relook at that sort of stuff. Maybe the frontage road looked differently back in 1970 when it was originally built, and now that access is not safe anymore because the frontage road has changed. So we have to look at those sorts of things because it's a significant enough change that we want to have our eyes on it. So that's why vacant site.
And were there some exactions that were applied to that particular one, or?
Yes. Yep, they installed some sidewalk, for example, that didn't exist. They contributed towards some improvements on the frontage road that needed to be made, and they paid their stormwater impact fee.
Just don't understand how you can do that, but I guess you can.
Okay.
What are you after here? I'm sorry, I missed something here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So,
You were gone at our last meeting.
Well,
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
no, well, this was one of the things you asked for. Remember, I think you wanted to
I didn't ask for
you
it.
wanted to have your eyes on. Well, you wanted to have an idea of what types of sites we were applying this to.
Okay.
So this is all the sites right here. So if there was, the next discussion, okay, where we want to go before we can take all this to the planning commission so that we can finalize it all. Really, the last step is are we applying standard site plan to the right types of sites? And if you're still good, you were good at the last meeting, good getting rid of the minor and waiver and going to just a standard site plan. So the other 2 pages that we've included in your packet, there's the existing language for site plan, and then there's the proposed. So the way it was worded before was basically anytime there's a building permit for new development, redevelopment, change in use, enlargement, or expansions. And then there were 7 exemptions. Okay. What we're proposing now, the new language will say it will only apply to new commercial, industrial, and multifamily development. And there'll be 5 exemptions. Number 1 doesn't change. That's, basically we're exempting single family. And we're pretty much in the first paragraph, we're doing that anyway. Unless that single family happened to be in a commercial zone, I guess, which is allowed. And then number 2, we are saying the same thing, but we're clarifying new construction. Number 3 is routine repairs, maintenance, or remodel of existing building and structure. Number 4 is something we were capturing previously under minor. So if they were making an addition to a building, we had a threshold. So if it was, I think it was greater than 20%, then it would kick into site plan versus minor site plan. And what we're proposing in this, until we have a design standard, so please understand that when we have design standards in the future, we still might bring back a lower level type of review. But for now, with no design standard, there's no real reason to review those. So again, we're saying let's exempt those for now. Another reason we want to get rid of the thresholds is we as staff don't want to play the game of with the applicants of, okay, now they're 1 foot over, square feet over, or they're 1 foot less, that sort of goofiness. It just makes it easier for the applicant and staff just to say yes or no, it's just an addition for an existing building. And then number 5 is partial or complete change in use of an existing building or property. That was something that we got feedback from you guys previously, was change in use was a big thing that we were constantly having to basically track business licenses. And because it was hard for applicants to get the message when they were out there. They just go and rent a building or buy a building and that's already existing, and they didn't realize they had to come in for application. A lot of times we didn't capture them until they had a sign up, and then there was all these requirements and that sort of stuff, and it really got us sideways all the time with business people. So that's why we're putting that as an exemption for now. And then the last paragraph just basically clarifies that they still may have other requirements that other portions of the code apply, like parking. So that's a completely separate part of the code that you may choose to address in the future, but the parking rules still apply regardless of whether they go through site plan review or not.
So, and just to be clear, this list, the proposed list, specifically items 4 and 5, are in based on what we were hearing from council.
So in a nutshell, we're capturing less applicants, saving them time and money, saving us time and headache. I'll be honest with you on that, and then reducing the number of people we would capture in that standard site plan process as well. So if you guys are good with this, our next stop is Planning Commission to roll this all into the new. And so with Dina just starting out, she's got a lot of new ideas, but we don't want to hold this up. Yes, we don't want to hold up this process under pending legislation.
Looks like you need a pair of scissors.
We want to move this forward because we don't want to hold up projects, and the attorneys are okay with us working under pending legislation to an extent, but we don't want to do that for a long period of time. So we want to do this update now with the Planning Commission, be done with it, less exactions, less development applications being captured in the process, less red tape. And then Dina will bring forward a more wholesale design standard update in hopefully in the near future at some point when she can get caught up.
Can explain number 5 again.
So 5 is you have an existing building, and it was I don't know, what's a good example, Dina? I mean, you just change its use. There's one in the list. There was a warehouse and now it's a retail store. So that would be exempt.
What about the church that's putting in an expansion currently? How
Right.
would that,
So that's number 4. That'd be exempt. So there's a real example of that right now. They fell under minor. We collected a stormwater impact fee from them. We were looking at right-of-way dedication, but they had already done that in a previous application, and there was something else. And basically, again, with the elimination of the exaction at that level, there's no reason for us to review them and them to provide that level of planning. So that's what number 4 does, is it eliminates them from having to go through site plan at all, where before they fell in that minor level. Someday, when we bring forward design standards, and if we agree on those types of things, there may be a reason to bring some of those smaller applications back into the fold. But for now, it's just a red tape process that doesn't have any added value is a good way of putting it. Yeah.
But we had kind of wanted some examples of how this would affect different, scenarios. Are you familiar enough with the scenario of the church that's currently getting an addition? Because I've been giving some feedback from some of those folks.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the example I just gave. So you're talking about the church up on Gradine and St. John's, yeah.
That issue, though, is unrelated to site planning. That's an issue of building permitting.
Yeah, they're still going to have to go through building permits, still have to follow building code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do you have any other scenarios on how this would alleviate a lot of burden and headache for commercial property owners or residential property owners?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're essentially eliminating 30 of these applications we've captured in the last 8 years would be gone. We wouldn't be bothering those people.
Is there any other feedback or
Two-thirds
questions?
of,
And
So
nor
you're
collecting
saying
the
up-
exactions on those, obviously.
right.
You're saying in that the McDonald's number 11 and the Gasomat and would not have been included?
No, they still would go through site plan today.
If there's
Yeah.
vacant site, new build.
Even with what we're proposing, they'll still
First
go through
19.
site plan, yeah.
I just don't understand how you consider that a vacant site.
When you tear down a building, it becomes vacant, and you're putting a
Really?
new construction up.
Whether you want to call it vacant or site or
change
not,
that.
we're recommending that type of project, I mean, whether you want to call it a full demolition and rebuild or build on a vacant, regardless, we think that's important enough. We thought we heard from you guys last time that was important enough to capture them under standard site plan review. Those are the biggest impacts. If we weren't going to do that, we shouldn't be doing site plan review at all, really. I mean, those are.
I don't have a problem with site plan review, I guess, but you're going to charge those people a stormwater assessment fee?
Yes,
If it
Well,
hasn't
if-
been paid
if
in
it
the
hasn't
past.
been paid, right.
If it hasn't been paid, because a part of their building a whole new building is they're changing the makeup of that land, right? And how it affects.
There's a good
stormwater.
chance they're
Which
impacting
would
the.
impact
yeah,
their annual or monthly fee.
Correct.
I don't have a problem with that.
We will have a chance to talk about the impact fee later this year when the utility rate study comes in. We're going to have a lot of discussion around that.
That can change immensely. So I wouldn't get hooked up with the stormwater fee right now. Is that right, Adam? Because just depending on where
I
we
think it's
go
a
with it.
discussion that's necessary and
Yeah.
will be forthcoming for sure.
Are there any
Yeah,
other
I'm-
questions?
Yeah, I'm not trying to sideline that now. It's just,
September.
Don't have what you need to bring
Yeah.
it up, yeah.
right. Yeah, I think by September, that's supposed to be coming forward, right, Tony? September?
September,
Yeah.
yeah. But this is a significant streamlining of the process for the city and the applicant without jeopardizing or divesting our interest in public health, safety, and welfare.
Mayor, does this satisfy the information that you needed?
Yeah,
Make more
the only other
business-friendly?
question I had, I don't know if truly the council knows enough about a site plan, a standard site plan. Do you understand what that's all about? Do you know what they do? Can you honestly say you know what they do? Have you seen one?
No.
I
I'm
could
not
be more- I
educated
could definitely be
enough
more
Oh, but I
educated
have.
on it.
So I think that, Dina, when you apparently have lots of colored tabs on your book there, I think this is fine. I have no problem with that. I think it does streamline and make sense. I mean, that is what we talked about, even though I said I didn't. I remember this now. I'm old. But the other thing is that before we delve in deeply, and maybe we should have that session where you cover, this is a standard flight plan. This is what it looks like, standard flight plan. A standard, what am I? Site plan to school us that are going to make those decisions. That just seems fair enough.
Yeah, if you have seen, if we're talking about the physical plan part of it, the piece of paper that we stamp
Right.
approved, if you're familiar with large construction projects, a significant construction project, that's exactly what they're providing to us. So that's one thing that these 1 through 18, 19, they're doing
Right.
anyway. That expense is there because
Yeah.
they're doing a full demolish rebuild. But say like one of those that we talked about where like they were converting a warehouse to a retail. They're not doing any outdoor site plan. They're not doing any really very minimal. And so they would be surprised because they're going to put up a couple partition walls or something and maybe change on a window. They're going to be surprised to come in and have to do a site plan. They're like, well, why? And because their project is not that big, so they typically would not be prepared to do that. That's been part of the issue. And so then when we surprise them with that, then of course they're not happy and we go from there.
And I'm just suggesting maybe the council does not want to do that. Maybe you want to take one that's done in the past and say this was one that was done back then and school us a little better. Certainly, I've been through them and I agree. This does eliminate a lot of stuff that you shouldn't. And maybe not, Dean. I don't know if that's an unfair question of you to ask, but I sense a concern about council. Maybe they just don't know enough about site plans. I don't know. What do you think?
Do it either individually or collectively, whatever your choice.
I like collectively.
Schedule something for July the 7th. Just a
Well,
little
whatever.
half-hour.
I think that's going to come forward when we bring design standards to you and we
Right.
start having those discussions with the planning commission.
I think what the mayor wants, though,
You
is
know.
just a little tutorial on what is a typical site plan process.
Maybe one that,
Setbacks, heights, density.
Process and end result, I think.
Circulation, I
What
mean,
they
Yeah.
actually.
we could easily do that.
Okay,
Just
just
take-
something that
Yeah,
we
I
had in
think
the
that'd
be
past to
something-
I
give
think
you a
it'd be
little
helpful. A lot of
comfort.
us are new,
That's
and
all.
it would be
Sure.
nice to
Okay.
be a little bit more schooled
Planning
on that.
101.
So are we okay with moving forward with it as is? Is it still
You're
because
not
it's
gonna convince me of that justification. He's
stormwater
not,
one?
she's not, and you're not, so we'll move forward.
Do it on July the 7th, I don't think it'd take more than 15 or 20 minutes.
It may not even be something we have to have a discussion on. We could just put something in your packet too.
That's July
We
5th.
could walk them through it.
I would appreciate
Council
through it.
meeting's the
July 5th.
3rd.
What's that?
July 5th?
Fifth,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
whatever, yeah, I can keep on.
Yeah, I think the general government or revision committee, we go through that. Those are a little more relaxed
It
and,
doesn't need to be incredibly thorough, but enough to let us know our bearings.
sure.
So just to understand our next step, if you're good today, our next step is to go to the planning commission and get these regulations worked through them, since that's the process.
After the tutorial?
No, we'll get it, we got to get that scheduled with PC to get moving forward. The tutorial, this is, what I'm
Yeah.
hearing is this is moving forward regardless of,
Right.
yeah.
And the only reason is that Dina brought the book, and I'm thinking we're going to get all this stuff, and maybe we need to know what a site plan is, and then we're ready for your book.
Well, these are just my comments of the existing. I mean,
Okay, yeah.
clearly, I think Terry and Adam need to do the tutorial at the next meeting because they're, have a lot more of that institutional knowledge and have been applying this versus myself, so.
Okay.
We'll be negotiating that with the new girl,
Okay.
yeah.
Councilman Meisner, do you feel like you need a little bit more background information about what we're anticipating with the stormwater fees and the potential impacts it could have on businesses?
When you charge somebody a stormwater impact fee, that's already been paying the monthly and annual fees. You cannot convince me how you justify that.
Just a quick explanation. One relates to maintenance and operation, the fee, the other for capital. You're covering the capital expense of existing or future improvements, so they're two different buckets. So the impact
That's
fee
your-
relates to
that's your-
capital improvements.
That's your
And-
interpretation, but.
No, but it's
No,
true. I
that's
mean, we're
literal.
spending 80+% of our current monthly fee on standard maintenance and operations. That's why we're not getting ahead of the game. We're falling further and further behind. And that's a discussion for the council when you review the proposed stormwater impact fees, because we're not generating enough revenue to get in front of the problem. We're constantly sliding backwards. And all we're doing is keeping our nose above the water level.
You're talking about a fee, a monthly fee.
Yeah, for maintenance and
I don't have a
operation.
problem with a monthly
Be
fee.
like a condo fee versus capital to build a condo.
Right.
That's the distinction.
It's similar to the water.
That's a good
Water
ex-
tap fee goes towards, it's the difference between your monthly
Did
water
those
fee
people pay a
and the
water tap fee also?
If they hadn't paid one already, yes.
But they already had a water tap.
But they haven't made an investment into
The
the
water tap's
infrastructure.
already there.
But that's because they paid for it already.
Yeah. If they hadn't paid for one, then they're now buying into the system.
They're already in the system.
No, well, you're
No.
making that assumption, but they're not. They haven't purchased a water tap.
They haven't
That's
bought
the
in.
investment in the existing infrastructure to deliver water to them.
You'll never convince me.
That's
Kind of
okay,
like a
Jim.
country club initiation fee
You're right.
versus
and
a
I paid
monthly
those.
fee. Yeah. So you'll get it there.
Build a building or put a parking lot in, he'd understand.
All right, we're just gonna have to love you, Jim.
You don't even have to do that. You're just not gonna convince me it's right.
Let's go ahead and make an announcement that our July 3rd Monday City Council meeting is canceled because we will not be having a quorum at that time because of the holiday. But I would like to wish everyone a happy 4th of July as we celebrate the independence of
You mean
our
I'll be
country.
the only
and
one
our
in town that
patriotism.
week? Oh, You and me?
I have to show houses.
Hold it down for us,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Gosh.
We wish you all well, and
Well,
we'd
we
like to go.
still have another council meeting in June.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that is true. And we'll still have our
Okay.
Wednesday meeting that
Our
week.
vision
July
meeting.
5th.
Vision
right?
meeting's
We'll
been
be here the day
canceled.
after, but we won't be here
Vision's
the day
been
before.
canceled too.
Oh, Vision's been
Okay.
canceled as
It's
well.
on the 21st.
Oh, that's right, we'll be in
21st.
Brackenridge, working hard.
Yes. Okay, I think meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.